The Kickstarter for the ultimate ancient Egypt-inspired, 5e-compatible campaign setting, the Kingdom of Keshinar, is live. Back the Kickstarter now for tons of bonuses, including our hand-painted replica of the world's first D20, found in a 2,000-year-old Egyptian tomb, a canopic jar with hand-carved scarabs, monster cards, and so much more. Discover a new world of expansive exploration, political intrigue, and mythical battles. Ancient Egypt lasted thousands of years, but this Kickstarter will not. Back now before it ends on May 8th.
All right. We are alive.
We are live. How about that?
Nice. Good link.
Yeah, I think we're
Let's send me the link.
Oh, it's in our group chat. The logistics
Send
team.
it directly.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So we'll go ahead and get started first if you want to. I mean, I guess after you, I suppose.
Doesn't matter. So I'm Dave Haddon. I'm the creator of the Kingdom of Keshinar, and this is our first live stream. So bear with us with technical issues. We're in our studio here, but with the launch of the Kickstarter and the pressure of getting all that up and running, we didn't have time to really set up a proper setup. But we promise that all future ones will be smoother. And so first and foremost, huge, tremendous thanks to everybody who backed our Kickstarter so quickly. We kind of blew through our set funding goal in, I think it was like 2 minutes, and it keeps going up. And I think that is, for us, it's the money, of course, is important. You got to pay for everything, but it's more indicative of people's interest and enthusiasm for the project and for ancient Egypt and how we're combining all these cool, interesting aspects of ancient Egyptian culture and art and technology and mythos into a TTRPG setting. And that has been a source of inspiration for us for many years. I've been working on this thing for many decades now as a homebrew. And something like 4 years ago, I made the decision to try and publish it. And I thought, how difficult could it be? I've got all these notes, and I've play tested it for a decade. Well, it turns out it's very difficult, and doing it in a way that is accessible to everybody, and that we can support it, and we can actually address all the issues and manage the community that rallies around something like this is a big effort, and it's an effort that we've been enjoying tremendously, and we're super excited about having hit this gigantic milestone.
I guess I can jump in as well to start out with. Hello, I am Mark's Brothers, no relation. I am the COO and architect of adventure at Orthane Productions. Been with the project in some manner or another for, actually I don't know how time works anymore. It's been a long day or 3, unclear, but I'd say probably a couple of years at this point. Started getting together with Dave on gaming together, I don't know, 2020 is when we started playing together, and it's been a lovely ride since. So I've been playing TTRPGs for a decade or 2, something like that. Only about a decade into the high fantasy realm. So that's kind of where I got my start in everything. So based on that, we're going to take a quick look over to the people frantically behind the cameras to see how our audio is going and see if we've been actually heard at all.
If we have anybody viewing, if you can drop comments in there and let us know if you can hear us.
So, how's if we can get a kind of a thumbs up, thumbs down from behind the camera of how we're doing.
Okay. Yep.
Oh yeah, sweet.
Excellent.
Outstanding. Awesome. So I think we have some form of agenda for this. If we want to try to go by the agenda, we're going to give that a shot. We are very good at following an agenda when it comes to this sort of spontaneous live feed, and I'm sure this will be no different. So
Exactly.
I think we're going to go into the project overview even.
That's it.
Those are different words
Mhm.
that mean different things. Dave, actually, I'm going to just read out some questions here to Dave.
Perfect.
That way, the people know what you're answering instead of just looking at us reading off the screen and then answering things that we don't know what they're talking about.
Good plan.
I think that's how these things usually work. To people that, yeah. Anyway, Dave, what does the early start of this Kickstarter look like?
Harrowing, but at least the months leading up to it, especially the last 3 weeks, were intense. I think we pulled 3 30-hour consecutive shifts, and then we had about 5 16-hour ones, separated by 8 hours. And I remember Mark sitting across the table and saying, "This is the most work I've ever done in my whole life, but I've had more fun doing it than anything else." Also,
I don't necessarily remember saying that, which,
That's
but
fine.
I 100% believe I did and still agree with it.
yeah. So it's so we know D&D, we know how to run a business, and we have that experience, but what we've never done is a Kickstarter before, and it's a big project with hundreds and hundreds of moving parts that all have to kind of coordinate perfectly together, and it's our first time out, and people have been patient and kind and supportive, and we'd like to thank everybody for that. It's just a huge project, and it's good that we have that under our belts. I'm sure that we do, we're going to be doing some more in the future as we roll out the second and third books for the campaign series, and it should be a lot smoother. But all in all, I think it went really well, and we obviously the community is enthusiastic about what we're putting out because we hit our funding goal in 2 minutes and kind of blasted through that, and now we're steadily making our way up, and all of that cash basically goes to offset expenses that we've already incurred because we made a huge commitment to produce this, kind of like no matter what, and that's still our commitment. So we've been on the road with cons. We've been running like one-shots based on Keshinar for, I guess, about a year, a year, because our first one was GaryCon last year, and we just finished GaryCon this year. And what we do there is we run historical one-shots based on events, kind of around events that happened in Keshinar's past, so that it doesn't give anything away in the campaign. And then it also gives players a sense that they're kind of part of it. If they actually get into the campaign, they're going to have some pre-knowledge about Keshinar's history and culture and political climate, what have you, and so it kind of get them more invested. And I think we did 3 or 4 last year, and we've got 1 a month between now and the end of the year. So we'll be at Gen Con, we'll be at PAX, we'll be at Game Hall Con, Origins, North Texas RPG,
MomoCon.
Momo,
Yes.
and MomoCon, yeah, and more. So we're still putting more on the agenda. So we'll be doing at least 1 a month, and we have Khonshu, which is our dedicated van, which we wrapped with our graphics that we've already put 2,500 miles on. We've only had it for like a month, so we'll be on the road and hopefully coming to a place near you so that you can jump in and experience it firsthand. Prior to us actually getting the content fully complete and released. And that's been a really rewarding and exciting experience, and all the people that we've managed to play with have been just wildly enthusiastic about it, which is heartwarming for us, and we're super grateful for all of that. There's a lot of people in the community, TTRPG community, that share our enthusiasm for ancient Egypt. It's such a fascinating culture, and lasted for so long, like 3,500 years, and started, the recorded piece of it was 5,000 years ago, and yet there's so much of it. And we made a really firm commitment with all of this to kind of sticking with the Egyptian canon as much as possible. Not so much the actual specific historical events, because it's not an historical gameplay, but the technology and the culture and you know, their magic and their mythos and even their monsters. And as we dig into that more and more, we've come to realize that so many things that we thought we adopted from other cultures, actually those cultures adopted those things from and were influenced heavily by ancient Egypt. And and also as all that starts to come out, it's not serendipitous. It's just wild how much it ties everything together. Like, so the arc of our kind of big arc of our story for the campaign, which of course can go in a variety of different ways depending on what decisions the players make, just meshes beautifully with ancient Egypt and all the culture and the legacy of ancient Egypt. And that just keeps getting more and more interesting. So it's deepening our commitment to producing all this content, and also it's deepening our gratitude for all of the players and the GMs that have come forward and expressed so much interest in running this. There's been ancient Egyptian themed TTRPG in the past, and it's great stuff. You know, like Tracy and Laura Hickman's, you know, Desert of Desolation. And I think that the difference that we're bringing to the table here is that we're really starting with by really learning as much about ancient Egypt as possible, and you know, getting that lore in there.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely what the start of this Kickstarter is looking like on there. To add on to how, you know, the early start of the Kickstarter is looking, just the actual response has been like beyond any thing we could have imagined. So there is something I've run into in playing Dungeons and Dragons, either as a DM or with, you know, as part of a party, is when you're coming into an encounter, you have you come up with these plans, right? And then like you go into the encounter and you've planned everything perfectly, and then everything goes exactly to plan perfectly, and like you run into no issues whatsoever, and it just goes bam without a hitch, which is normally what happens in Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Yeah, always. Yeah,
always.
Yeah, everything always goes according to plan.
Always going to plan. You know, with that, I think the team has done like a great, amazing job of keeping everything going, and then like any challenges that have come up, just really popping into them. That is as far as how the early start of the Kickstarter is looking. I think it's just doing great. Talking about some of the, I want to talk about some of the lore. I want to talk about Keshinar as a setting, not necessarily like where we got our inspiration from, but Keshinar, right?
Yeah.
So and this is gonna be hard as the creator and everything, but what is like one of the coolest things you've seen someone like pull off in a Keshinar campaign that you've run before? Which we're going to say you've run before because you've run the majority of Keshinar campaigns as the creator.
That's true. I mean, there's so much, but I think the most memorable event of like the last year running con games is we have a module that's called the Perfect Trap, and it's based on trying to locate this arcane item, which is the Blood of the Phoenix, and the Blood of the Phoenix is kind of like a liquid wish spell. It's the material that Toth used to inscribe the Phoenix Covenant, which is sort of the binding contract that defines Keshan society. And anything that you write with it using a quill of the Phoenix basically has the power to alter and bind the universe. And at the end, usually often they'll find it, and then we're always curious what they do with it. And one person immediately said, "I drink it." And so that's the kind of thing where you totally expected that to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we had a contingency for that. And so what I did was
spoilers. We're going to be running these. Games coming up. So,
that's true, but
so that's the thing we didn't expect. So maybe.
Well, that's one interesting thing, though.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just swear the people on the call to secrecy, and you'll have to not metagame it if you do it. But so he drank it, and I was thinking, okay, well, what happened if you drink the blood of the Phoenix? Well, the Phoenix has this, is immortal and has this power to, die and conflagurate into into ashes and then resurrect itself from its own ashes. And so I had the player, basically the player immolated into a pile of ash, and then a few minutes later was reconstituted, and then a few minutes after that immolated into a pile of ash, and then basically that was the player's fate forever. Which makes for some interesting, logistics in terms of like rounds and how you manage combat when, there's a chance that you could be dead or alive one to the next. But gosh, there's so many stories. Every game is a little different. That's the beautiful thing about all this. It's all about the players, and we guide the story, but the players make the story.
A short question before we take a quick break to play some form of video or another. That's come up is how much sleep have you had in the last 3 days?
Yeah, not very much. I think we're both on 30 hours right now, and
Up, not of sleep, but
no, staying awake. Then we had 4 hours of sleep, and then I think we did like a 20 before that, and then so it's we can sleep when we're dead, and it's been it's just so much fun to work on this stuff, and and the idea that finally we're at a point when we can share it with a big audience has been incredibly exciting for us, especially after the wonderful reception we've had from all the Egyptomaniacs out there and TTRPG enthusiasts at all the cons that we've been visiting. So it's I'm pretty jazzed right now, and you guys have really demonstrated that we're on the right track here, and that the community is going to be receptive for this kind of content, and we really just can't wait. Like now we feel an even increased sense of urgency to get the books finished, and they're probably 65%, 70% through. The setting book is probably 90% complete, the manuscript, and the campaign is a little bit further behind, but that's actually going to go a lot faster, and then once we get it in electronic form, we'll be able to deliver all the electronic deliveries pretty quickly. Then we got to work through all the issues around printing and shipping and all that, especially now that with all the changes in taxation and what have you. But those are worth it. It's always been our ultimate objective is to put all this content into the hands of the players, and now we have the resources to do that. So we couldn't be more excited.
So I will add on to that. Unclear how much sleep we've actually had over the past 3 days. I myself am one of those that has no trouble being up. I don't generally need any sort of like anything to keep me awake or excuse me 1 second.
Brenna, thank you for backing us. And to answer Lord Toss' question, yes, we are going to be at Gen Con. In fact, we're going to be running continuous tables at Gen Con. That's going to be our biggest conference, and we're taking like 6 or 8 DMs or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big one, and we're definitely going to be there, and we hope to see everybody there. But the cons are great. They're a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but totally worth it, and it allows us to playtest a lot of the mechanics, the new mechanics that we've been developing, which Marks leads, spells and species and all of that, and make sure that before we lock it all down in print, that it's super functional and the players enjoy it, and that it works. Yeah.
So we'll get into a little more of that in a minute. We are going to take a quick break here to play some video or another. I'm sure it has plenty to do with the Kingdom of Keshinar, and there's a possibility it might be an advertisement or something like that for what we're doing here. So stick around. We're going to take a look at that, and we'll be right back.
The Kickstarter for the ultimate ancient Egypt-inspired 5e compatible campaign setting, The Kingdom of Keshinar, is live. Back the Kickstarter now for tons of bonuses, including a cloth tapestry city map, a complete set of virtual tabletop assets, monster and NPC mini and STL files, and so much more. Discover a new world of expansive exploration, political intrigue, and mythical battles. Ancient Egypt lasted thousands of years, but this Kickstarter will not. Back now before it ends on May 8th.
That advertisement right there, I was very much sold on whatever product that was for.
Yeah.
And I hope you were too. So I mean, I have no idea, what company that was for, but man, from what I heard, it sounded like they really had a great product going on.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, we're gonna do like a little Q&A as we go, but we are going to go. Apparently, there's like an idea where if you put an agenda together, and like there's like it answers people's questions like in a way that is expected, and so we can get through some information. So I'm going to try to go that way. So I'm going to start asking you some questions about some overview here.
Okay.
So about the start of the Kingdom of Keshinar, how that started, and what kind of like what were the early systems that were used, and like what was some of the what did that look like in the olden days of the Kingdom of Keshinar?
Well, definitely the olden days. So I started the earliest conceptualization of it was in high school, which is like 750 years ago for me, and I've been homebrewing it ever since, and it matured as you homebrew, and so many great campaigns start out that way because you've got this big legacy to build on. And I think I ran the whole campaign is about a year or two, depending on frequency of gameplay. And I did at least 4 complete play tests all the way through that, mostly using D&D rules all the way from AD&D up to 5e, but also I did a whole version of it with RuneQuest. Right now, I would say that the way the lore has developed and meshed, so beautifully with ancient Egyptian lore, that it's the lore aspect is kind of it's sort of 5e-ish. And we're looking at porting to other systems, but that might take, we have to really think about that to see how that will mesh together. So playtesting super hard for, this modern version of it, of what it is right now, what we're launching, probably over the course of about 5 or 6 years. And and then, like I said, for the last year, we've been on the road actually doing playtests with players at various cons, and so it's matured pretty quickly, and it's a full-time gig, for all of us. At least most of us, the core team, we're all full-time, and we like it's been. I have this concept of life by design. It's like, you get one life, and if you can somehow manage to do something that you love, then you'll never work a day in your life, and this is definitely something that we love, and we're definitely working a lot harder than any other job I was in, but it's a joy, and I can't wait to actually have the books and the campaign out there for DMs to start running and enjoying. And we've designed it in such a way as you can definitely plunder this for your homebrew, or just drop Keshinar as its own country, or even the city of Keshinar, into your own game. And there's a lot to draw from there. But we're really excited about the lore that we have created over the course of this time for the campaign itself. Also, it is really deep and interesting, full of twists and turns. Conspiracies are real. And it's going to be really exciting to watch players go through that experience, and GMs. And we plan on doing a lot of live streaming to kind of support GMs to make a commitment to running it, so we can answer your questions and get your input and help you. So I think I meet a lot of people and ask them, have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons? And the answer is either yes, no, but I've heard of it, or I would like to, but I just don't know how to get started with it. And there's this concept of expanding the table and creating more opportunity for people to play, and we're super committed to that. So we've designed the content in such a way as it's approachable, it's accessible, tried to create like good tools for the DM to be able to have access to implement the setting and the campaign, or both. And that is with an eye towards like being able to support like new GMs that can pick this up and run with it.
Yeah. I want to talk about my early doop, 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 experience in the Kingdom of Keshinar. Starting out playing in 2020 during this was our first online game for. There was something going on in 2020 where we couldn't quite get together. I can't remember what it was. No matter. So we were doing it online, but there was so many resources that I wasn't expecting because of how long you had been working on this. So as far as like how well the city was planned out, you know, you shared like a folder with us with the players with like some, and I may have gotten a little deeper in than some of the players, like looking at some of the spreadsheets, which there were spreadsheets, but it was like a list of the buildings that were in calderas and which are the neighborhoods of Keshinar, and there were some of them that were like, these are buildings that are for sale in this caldera, and here's a temple for sale. So like it just that sort of thing where I was just like, oh, I have a goal now. Okay, I get to build. I'm gonna go buy my own temple and have my own like worship to the god Chesmu of the god of blood, slaughter, and wine. No.
Perfume.
Slaughter, blood. No, wine.
Wine, perfume, and slaughter.
Thank you. Okay, there's a possibility I have been up for more than like 3 or 4 hours. It may have been a number more than that. But like just getting so into it and just having all this background lore available really helped like my immersion as a player. I'm gonna take a quick break here. I think we got a question coming in. I'm looking at the tiers and notice that the Pharaoh All-In does not say early bird like the others. Does that mean the tiers get everything either way? So we have 6 main tiers, and then right now for the first 48 hours, we have 2 of those tiers that we have early bird versions of that are the same items, but you're just getting a discount on them. So for example, I believe it is the 1, 2, 3. Is that not the judge? The third tier, the digital deluxe all-in, or the digital deluxe, yeah, Fist of Cathar, the one that has like all the digital items. We do have a early bird version of that right now that is just at all the same items, just at a discounted price. And then the on the Pharaoh tier,
the table ready,
which is like the table ready, which is one of our higher tiers, not our highest, but we have a early bird version of that is also at a discounted price for the first 48 hours of the Kickstarter. So if either of those are something you're looking for, if you back us within the first 48 hours, you got a version of that you can get a lot cheaper than you'd be able to get, say, at 53 hours or even 74 hours or another type of hours that is past 48 but less than the number of hours that are in the 30 days, which I don't know that I have the exact math off the top of my head. I can start doing that, but maybe that's not quite as interesting.
I think we get it.
Okay, cool. We got the idea there.
And Zoe mentions that this is the first Kickstarter that you've ever backed, and wow, what an honor! Thank you for your commitment and for believing in us and having an interest in what we're doing here. And can't wait to interact with you as you engage with the content.
It's the first one we've done, so it's glad to be on this first time journey together. So thank you so much, and all the rest of you that have maybe this is your first Kickstarter or your second or even your 103rd. And if it is your 103rd, thank you so much for you've been like a pro at this for a while, and you still find us worthy of backing. So we really appreciate all of you on that. Hey, there was a heart thing going over there over the chat. So like heart to you too. I think that's how that is. That I don't know. I'm not good at making finger work. And
so one of the items on here, which I don't think we can. I don't think that we can demonstrate on this particular stream, but and I'll talk a little bit about how this came about. But so when I was homebrewing it and just running it as a homebrew, I needed a map, and of course you don't have tons of time, right? You don't have tons of time to make super elaborate maps. I mean, it took a long time, but what I did basically is I went and I found an old etching of Jerusalem which is huge. It was like 6 foot by 5 foot or something. And then I went in and I meticulously photoshopped that city to kind of match what Keshinar is. And Keshinar geographically is very similar to Cairo. So it's at the end of a river delta, the river that runs south to north, and so geographically similar. And I added pyramids and I added an ocean, and but the thing about that is like the orientation and the design of the city was very kind of medieval, not very Egyptian. But it worked, it worked for Homebrew, where you've got a full-time job, and I'm an entrepreneur and I was starting my own company. I was super busy, but got to make time for D&D, right? D&D is life. And but then when I made the commitment to try and publish this, I was like, well, that's the first thing is I got to get the map redone. So I was out on Upwork trying to find cartographers and artists and designers that could help me do this. And one of them talked me into building the whole thing in Blender. Every building, the entire city. And so we spent it was like 2.5 years doing that. I think it was about 3 years actually, building every single building. And then once that was finished, and that huge commitment had been made, then we decided, well, wouldn't it be nice if you could just run around in it? Like, we're not trying to build a video game, but wouldn't it be cool instead of just a flat 2D map to have a 3D map so that players could explore the city in downtime, could walk around and click on buildings and get information, and the GM could show the player's path from one neighborhood to the next and what buildings look like and what have you. So we tried to import it into an engine that would allow us to do that, and realized that we had built everything at about a third of the size it should be. So we threw that completely away and redesigned the whole thing, soup to nuts, from scratch in the Unreal Engine. And that's what Mitch, who's on our team from Masterwork Studio, he kind of led that development effort. And it turned out to be the right move because, yeah, sure, we had to throw all the work we had done away, but it allowed us to plan the city based on how ancient Egyptians would have actually done it. They like to do things in a lot of straight lines, whereas medieval cities are very twisty, and then we kind of went overboard because we go overboard on everything. And actually, I got an architect to, it's pencil sketch what buildings should look like based on my experience with ancient Egypt, and my background is in building restoration and architecture, one of the companies that I started. So I was kind of deep into that, and so I'd pencil sketch out stuff how I thought it would look if they had magic too. If magic was more accessible, aka real, then what does that do? I spent like 3 days figuring out, can you build pyramids faster if you have magic? You can do rock to mud and what have you, and levitate spells, and the logistics around that are actually very interesting. So we designed all the temples, 30 different temples for 30 different gods that we chose as the major gods of the 3,000 or something in the Egyptian pantheon. And then we take those architectural designs and then we handed them off to the Unreal guys, and so somebody would redesign them in Blender, then another person would drop them into the Unreal environment and place them. And that whole process took actually only about 6 months because it was a larger team and Unreal's a little easier to work with. But that's where we are now. So this is kind of a first time in RPG thing for us that we're very proud of, because usually a map is a map, and maps are great, and this is all theater of the mind, so that's okay. But it has been a real huge resource for us having gone to this trouble. So the Unreal Engine implementation of the 3D interactive map of Keshinar City is 25 million square feet. It has 200 different named locations, but many hundreds of different buildings, and now it's free with every tier, and you can have access to it, and there's so many different ways to use it, and we keep adding functionality to it. So pandemic, somebody mentioned the pandemic in the chat here, and so that's, I think we all played a lot of D&D during the pandemic, but then it was VTT, and I think that's where VTT really kind of exploded.
That's what was going on in 2020.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
And the problem with VTT for me was, I don't need to do any prep for a map if I'm running, a table game. I just throw out the grid and just draw a box and put your minis on it and you're good to go, right? But with VTT, you kind of have to do more preparation. Like you want to have a good looking map for everybody to kind of be on, and you don't want a big white blank screen. And so now we've added capability where you can be anywhere in the city, because you never know where an encounter is going to happen, because you don't know what the players are going to do. And you just push a button and it strips off the tops of the buildings Then you can adjust the lighting. You can decide if you want hex or you want a grid, and then it just push another button and it creates that map, that VTT map. You can upload it in seconds into whatever VTT you're using, and then so basically creates unlimited ability to create maps.
Show them, and you can talk about
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to show a little clip of what it looks like.
Right before we do, just a quick update to a couple of things that had come up. Someone asked about only seeing one of the early birds. There are, if you scroll down through the different tiers, we're able to feature one of the tiers. So we're able to feature one of the early bird tiers at the top of the list, which is the table ready one. The table ready one. Is that? Oh yes, there's a camera over there. I'm gonna look at the camera when I speak, which is a good thing that people normally do. So that will be at the top of the list, but as you scroll down through it, where we have our other tiers available, there is one other early bird tier for one of our lower tiers as well. That's available. And then one other quick, easy to answer question that came up was, are there pledge limits to the tiers, or are they open to as many folks as want to pledge to them? We did a lot of work on going through figuring out our I know the word for this, scaling of our supply chain as we go, and we took a look to make sure that yes, we are scalable, so we did not in fact need to put any limit to any of the tiers. We do have some limits onto some of the add-ons maybe, but the tiers themselves we don't have any limits on. So please do indeed tell your friends, and they can. Why would you want to? If you can work around it, if you can do something, then yeah, let's get as many people into Keshinar as we can.
And the driving principle behind that is we didn't want to overpromise, right? And so I think we did a lot of research into Kickstarters that were successful and Kickstarters that are 2 or 3 years out and haven't delivered. And we're not going to be that, right? So we've been working on it really solid for years now, and a couple of years of actually with a team producing it and investing money into it. And we wanted to make sure that a lot of the stuff we actually already have in inventory, and we want to make sure that once the manuscripts are complete and they're at the printer, which is kind of an issue we have to figure out now and we're looking into because of tariffs and other things, that we can deliver fast and that we have all the things, and it's not being held up because some custom dice that we wanted to make, although we do have a custom die, but we already had them all produced. So like the original Egyptian D20. So I don't know if you're probably aware of this if you looked at our Kickstarter page, but the ancient Egyptians invented the D20. And how cool is that? And so it was found in a tomb 2,200 years ago. So I ran into a guy, Thomas Mullins, who is on Etsy. He was kind of reproducing these, but I wanted to make it gameable. So we figured out, it's in a form of Coptic, right, which is post-Ptolemaic period of ancient Egypt, when after the Greeks and the Romans had invaded, and the Greeks first and then the Romans, and so we could put the Arabic numerals on there, so you can actually use it and roll it. So, but like we've already had, like 500 of those produced, and they're all handmade, they're hand printed, and hand painted, and so all of the items that are in our Kickstarters are designed to enhance your game. Like I see a lot of Kickstarters that, and there's nothing wrong with this. It's like we all love dice, but that are just have tons and tons and tons of dice, and that's great, right? But how many dice sets do you really need to enhance your game? And so we've really focused more on things that will enhance your game and enhance the content and kind of synergize with the content to create a better experience for your players. And we've given great consideration to the logistics of all this, because we're not going to have your rewards be held up because we're waiting for some dice to arrive from China, some custom thing or something that really doesn't directly necessarily enhance the game. So that's we care about your table, and we share your passion for the DMs on the call, which is great experiences for your players, and that's where the majority of our effort goes into.
Yep. I'm going to do a quick answer to this, and then we're going to let our person. Our behind the scenes staffs start doing the walk, like our videos there. The question is if there's anything that the all-in bundle does not get from the add-ons, and the answer is no. So, and there's also a couple of items that you can only get through the all-in bundle, with one technical exception. The all-in gets the limited edition of the books as opposed to the just regular version of the books. So if you are looking to have both the limited edition and the regular version for some reason, I guess that would be the only reason to have any sort of add-on. But that, I mean, that'd be great if you want them, but everything that is in the Kickstarter is in that tier.
I think the price difference is like $10 or something, right?
No, it's like $30
For both.
for each.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. But with that, yeah. So basically, everything you can get is in there, and we're gonna go and do whatever is next with the next video that we're showing.
Is this the Unreal?
Yep.
Who's doing it?
This is the screen. You guys are good to go and display. But you have to. You can push play. You can skip wherever you need to in the video to show what's going on. But we are live and playing this, and they can hear you.
But who is driving it?
Oh, you guys are.
Oh, okay.
So you'll need to expand here. There we go.
We're doing a video, Dave. This is not a. This is not.
not-
the,
Oh,
This
it's
is
a
not the
video.
actual
Okay, play
live,
it. Yeah, just play it.
yeah. So we're gonna start again.
All right, so you've got a couple of different avatars you can choose from. We've got like a Lion Legionnaire and various different avatars. That's the Palace of the Pharaoh. It's a kind of a grand extrapolation of a very classic Egyptian design.
You will have to skip around because this is a slow. It's like an 8-9 minute video. So.
Oh yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the seat here.
Yeah.
And here we are. We're looking at.
That's the palace.
Okay. This is one of our flying characters.
Well, they all fly actually.
Well, yeah, they all fly.
Yeah, because it would take you like half an hour to physically walk from one side of the city to the next. So you're going to want to be flying around. And then maybe to skip ahead to something else.
Yeah. Let me find something. Okay. Where are we? Let's see. Where are we going?
You're
here?
looking west. Yeah, one thing that could be a little confusing as you're going through this is you have to remember the north and south are reversed. So usually north is always Yeah.
So one thing so what we're looking at here is this is how we are going to create our VGT top-down maps, or rather how you are going to be able to do it for your players. So let me see if I can find where this starts real quick so you can see what the entirety of this process looks like. Maybe. No? You want to
skip ahead?
I want to skip back because I want to show how you get into this.
Yeah, next time we'll do a better job of this. This is our first live stream. We threw it together pretty quickly because we're so busy with the Kickstarter. But we'll figure out how to get a separate computer we can actually drive around and do a better tour of this.
There we go. All right, so now we're flying around again, and going through the city, walking past one of our temples here.
That is the Judgment Hall of Anubis on the left that you're kind of looking at there, and then the Temple of Ma'at facing that. And that's the Temple of Khonshu, which is why it's got the two boats on the top of it.
Now, what's happened here is we were walking, and this is the exact same location where we were at on the map. So we decided, okay, this is where we want to be, and we want to make a map of it here. So we hit a button, get a mode. We can move around, so we have exactly where we want it on there. This is, we got the grid system overlaid on there. We can change where the position of the sun, light and day, and all that. And we're going into night here. That's going good. And what do we got next here?
A little slow. Let's see. Just drag. Is it streaming?
No, it doesn't do
It
that.
doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
just going to move to
Yeah,
whatever
do that.
location. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it's a little clunky. We'll do better next time.
There we go. So, we're flying around to other parts of the city. Talking about... All right, so there is another section of map for exactly where you are, changing the lighting and everything. Skipping ahead a little bit to see what else is in this video is this?
So
this is yeah. Go ahead. Where are we at now, Dave?
Yeah, this is the Rock and Roll Cafe. So this is winds up being it turned out to be like every party's favorite hangout. So this is the one building we actually built the entire inside of it. And one of the things that we're doing is we're taking a lot of the art of Keshinar. So we made a gigantic investment in art, and with some incredible artists that we probably went through 40 artists to find 4 that we really like and really inspired us and kind of got the theme. And all from our art director, Lady X, who was really kind of driving that process. And so we're going to actually place some of the art inside the buildings, so you can actually see it. So here's where it's shown where it's stripped off the top of the buildings, and that's where you were without that mode on. But yeah, so there's GM tools that we're going to continuously kind of keep building more tools into that. But it is literally just a click of a button to make a VTT map from anywhere in the city. So unexpected bar fight, or you get jumped in an alley, or just wherever, and then you can just push a couple of buttons and you've got a VTT for that. And VTT is important because first it's powerful, and it helps players that can't physically get together to actually play and experience the game. And so we're creating a lot of tools specifically around that to kind of enhance that process.
Yeah. And so it's as it's showing here, where in this one building where we can go into different levels of building, because the Rock and Roll Cafe is 4 stories of just awesomeness.
That's the wrestling pit in the middle.
Wrestling pit in the middle. So that's kind of the idea of that. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to pause here as we walk back over to our seats as this keeps playing, which will be a great segue, as you can totally hear my voice is changing. It's still going because our camera absolutely did not fall off. There was no noises there. It's in the exact same spot it was. Yeah. Nothing has changed whatsoever. And as
I have to call out Yas, because Yas was on the team that actually Yas built that entire thing with Mitch and his brother Miguel. So Mitch is the head of Masterwork Studios, and he's the one that kind of conceived of it all and talked me into scrapping my entire old.
Oh, hey, look, we're back. I can actually look at the screen as we talk.
Yeah. So he's the one that kind of Mitch talked me into scrapping the old Blender version of the city, which was already kind of like a big deal, and starting all over again. And then his team was Yas and Miguel, and Yas is the Unreal expert, and Miguel his brother. Great guys. He would do the Blender. So Jose, who was our lead illustrator, but he's also an architect by training. So he would actually do full architectural designs. You can see one of them in the Kickstarter, and then pass that off to Miguel, who would design it in Blender, and then Yas would take it and place it around the city, and I'd work with them to decide, where and how everything should go, and then texturing it all. I mean, it's enormous. What is it? It's like 30. It's just huge. I forget the size of the file. It's really big. It's Windows only right now. It's an executable that you can download and run, and we'll optimize it in the future. But we're just going to continuously add capability to that tool because it's so useful. And one of the ways that we use it also is for art. So if we want a picture of like the Temple of Ra, then there's all kinds of ways we can adjust the lighting, take screenshots of it, and then the original guy, Bella, who lives in Hungary, who did our last map with the Blender version, so he's taken over by his contribution now is he takes those screenshots and he completely paints over them so that it kind of matches the rest of our art and doesn't look like screenshot in a video game. So great team, and they're still working on it, and like I said, we're going to continue to add functionality to that because it's unique. It's the first time in TTRPG, and that says a lot because we're kind of newcomers to the scene here in terms of bringing a product to market. We've been playing forever, but it's nice to contribute an innovation to the community.
Yeah, I want to talk about other ways as a DM that I've been using our Unreal build. A couple of quick notes before then. We are. We are just shy of 145,000.
Wow!
On our we just hit 700 backers on our Quickstarter. Wow, Kickstarter even. Words have meanings, and so that's why you usually say the correct versions of words, if anyone is wondering. And then a quick question from the server was: is there any possibility of a tier specifically for the physical source book for those of us prefer having paper to hand but can't afford both source books and adventures. So we did add there is a not a tier, but we did add kind of a build your own option that is a basically it's $5 to start, and that gets you the the Unreal, the 3D build, right, that you can like build your own package on top of, so you can get just the one physical book. If you buy a physical book, you get the PDF of the book. We may not have clearly put that language in there, but that is absolutely the case. If you get a physical book, you get the PDF of the same book. So there is a way for you to go in, use that to buy just like one of the physical books that way without having to go and buy both at the same time.
And you get the 3D city.
And you get the 3D city for that as well. So we did get a solution for that.
Good question here from JC. Are you thinking about how the tariffs will affect the book cards production costs? So we're thinking about it. We're worried about it. We're looking into having the books printed in the U.S., which honestly, I don't think anybody does that anymore, right? So they get printed in China, they get printed in Europe or in Eastern Europe, and we're actually looking into trying to get them printed here, which I guess is the purpose of those tariffs, to try to drive manufacturing back to the U.S. and create jobs here. And it's going to add costs. We know for a fact that all of that's going to add costs, and and this is just unless the Kickstarter goes absolutely to the moon. We'll be really happy if we get the money back from the Kickstarter that we've invested in it. But I think we're already at a point where we could offset some of those costs. But yeah, it's going to affect it because it keeps changing too, right? So we don't really know how that's going to go. But rest assured that you will get them no matter what. So even if we have to out of pocket the whole thing, you're going to get the books because that's why we're doing this. It's always been my dream, for 30 years I've been developing this campaign setting, is to get this in the hands of players. And I think that the fact that there's a kind of like another angle to this, which is really interesting and speaks to how, Dungeons and Dragons is really coming out of our basements, right? And having an impact on society at large. It's kind of entering, social consciousness in a really big way. And not just because of the...
I mean, to be clear, we are in a basement right now.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
We're not fully coming out of the basement, but
it's a metaphor, okay?
It is a metaphor, and it is it is. I mean, the community is definitely engaging or pulling up.
But the thing is like Dungeons and Dragons is starting to make huge contributions. I remember we all remember the Satanic Panic, right? Where it's like, oh, it's evil and it's whatever. And so we had to fight against all these headwinds, but now it's tailwinds, right? Because there's actual clinical research being conducted to show the impact, the incredibly positive impact that role-playing games have on mental health and on social building skills and also learning. So this is a form of experiential learning, and so I think that's interesting in that because we're wrapping all this Egyptian lore and integrating this Egyptian lore in a very authentic way. As you probably saw on the Kickstarter, we have an Egyptologist in residence on our team, and that has made a gigantic impact. And so sometimes we have to make little departures for the sake of gameplay because we don't want this to be a history lesson, right? And it really isn't. So the extent that we have done that, our game design team went to Egypt in December to do actual field research, and no amount of looking at pictures or reading books could have substituted what we learned from that experience and the contributions that is going to make to the game. The top tier, I also had a question earlier about the tomb tiles, right? So instead of dungeon tiles, we have tomb tiles. And they're designed based on actual architectural features of actual ancient Egyptian buildings, in Egypt. And so, for instance, I don't know if you'll notice, like, the masonry units are strange. It's like, we build stuff in bricks and everything's the same, right? But they have stones that are all different shapes and they fit them all together, which is like so much more difficult to pull off. But the net effect of that is it's still around because they're earthquake proof. So almost any buildings that don't exist, probably were knocked down by earthquakes, right? Seven wonders of the world, there's only one left, which is the Great Pyramid of Giza, basically because nothing can knock it down, even though people tried. And the ancient Egyptians were the master builders of the ancient world, and
Oh,
Sorry.
no. Oh, no, that was supposed to be like a serendipitous, like...
I get on a tangent about this.
No, you're fine.
I might
You're
be
fine.
passionate
You're-
about it.
Yeah, absolutely fine. No, so I just, on that, oh my goodness, I'm able to do segues as a human being who has done this before and talked. I'm going to sleep at some point today, but I want to go on two things because we are coming up to our hour. Where
Wow,
we're
that's
gonna come-
fast.
Yeah, I know. Like, I did not realize like the time. So we didn't quite get down to our tier breakdown, which we're going to get to tomorrow in our next stream.
Yeah.
I wanted to give, in these last couple of minutes, since we were talking about the Unreal Engine build, I wanted to give a final thought on that, on its usage. That has come up as we were building our modules for the con. So as I was sitting there writing one of the modules, being able to take the Unreal Engine build, our 3D build, go where we are in the city, and then start walking around in the city to see where I'm going next, that gave me inspiration on what the players are going to see, what might come up along the way. So it was just another way where I, even if I know like a city like in one of the main canon settings, I might not like have that kind of visual of being able to go from place to place. So that, as a dungeon master, has been a great boon in my writing, is be able to go from point A to point B.
The players can plan. They can plan their tactics and strategy by walking around the city themselves, and they can do it out of game. So that's a really exciting piece of it, is it gives them something really engaging to do, outside of game time, so that they can prep and learn more about the city.
Yeah. So with that, we've hit over the 145,000 mark, so 146,000.
I think we covered our art budget.
Yeah, no, we have not.
Yeah, no.
we definitely have not covered our budget, but that's okay.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. With that, I know we're going to be coming back tomorrow. I believe the plan is that we are going to be live streaming at some time
Which
tomorrow.
We will let you know what it is.
My guess is, actually no, I know exactly what it is, what time it's going to be, and I am not stalling so that someone could type it for me, which is not what they were doing, because there is actually a delay, so they didn't know I was starting to make that statement. Anyway, we'll be on, I'm assuming, at 11 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow for our next stream, or whenever people actually post saying this is when our next stream will be, and if I was wrong, then there we go.
Before we go, there's other ways to reach us and to keep the conversation going. So we have a Facebook group called the Keshite Conclave. Keshites live in Keshinar. And we have a Discord server. And so those are two great ways to, and of course you can make comments on the Kickstarter page. We're watching all of that. But if you want to get into some frothy, fun discussions about anything, Egypt, Dungeons and Dragons, how we've combined them, whatever, then find us on any of those locations, and you can talk to us directly, and we would love to answer your questions. I'm sure there's some questions that we haven't addressed here yet, and we will be sure to do so.
So again, thank you from all of us at Orthane Productions. We're floored by the response, and we'll be back
Humbled.
soon.